Commander Lee Dae-ho stood at the window of his small office in Neo-Seoul. He watched the busy streets below where humans walked, laughed, and lived their peaceful lives. To anyone watching, Earth looked like a quiet planet full of artists, teachers, and traders. Lee smiled at this thought. If only the aliens knew the truth. His computer made a soft sound. Another message from the Galactic Federation. Lee opened it and read the latest report from Ambassador Park Soo-jin. The Vrex Empire had attacked another human transport ship near the border. 3 people were dead. 50 more were hurt. Lee's jaw tightened. He wanted to send his ships to destroy every Vrex vessel in that sector. But his orders were clear. Keep pretending. Keep looking weak. Let the aliens think humans were easy targets. A knock came at his door. Come in, Lee said. Captain Yoon Ji-ho entered the room. She was young for a captain, but Lee knew she was one of their best. Sir, the crew is asking questions again. They want to know why we don't fight back. Lee nodded. This was always the hardest part. What did you tell them? The same thing you told me to say. That we follow orders. That Earth wants peace. Yoon paused. But sir, how long can we keep this up? The Vrex think we're weak. Other alien races are starting to believe it too. Lee walked to his desk and picked up a small device. It looked like a simple communication pad, but Yoon knew better. It was connected to Earth's real military command center, a place that most humans didn't even know existed. Captain, do you remember your first day at the academy? Lee asked. Yes, sir. You gave a speech about duty. What did I say about our most important duty? Yoon thought for a moment. You said our most important duty was to protect Earth's secret, even if it meant looking like cowards. That's right. Lee put the device down. The galaxy has been at war for thousands of years. Big empires fight small ones. Strong races destroy weak ones. But what if there was a race so strong that no one would dare fight them? They would have peace, Yoon said. Exactly. But only if everyone knew how strong they were. The problem is, once you show your true strength, you can never hide it again. Every race in the galaxy would either bow to you or try to destroy you before you could destroy them. Lee walked back to the window. So we chose a different path. We pretend to be weak. We let them think we're just another small, peaceful race. And while they ignore us, we watch them. We learn about them. We prepare. Yoon joined him at the window. But people are dying, sir. Our people. I know. Lee's voice was heavy. Every death weighs on me. But if we revealed our true power now, millions would die instead of hundreds. The galaxy would burn. On the streets below, a group of children ran past chasing a ball. Their laughter reached up to the window. Neither of them looked dangerous. Neither did the adults walking with them. This was exactly what Earth wanted the galaxy to see. Lee's computer made another sound. This time it was a priority message from Dr. Kim Tae-min. The doctor worked at the Galactic Research Center studying alien biology. At least that's what everyone thought he did. Sir, the message read, I've finished my analysis of the Vrex military structure. They have 17 major weaknesses in their defense systems. Full report attached. Also, their General Kazathul will be visiting the Federation Council next week. He's been very vocal about human weakness lately. Lee deleted the message after reading it. Dr. Kim had been studying aliens for 20 years, but he wasn't learning about their biology. He was learning how to defeat them. Captain, prepare your ship for a patrol mission, Lee said. Take the usual route through Sector 7. The Harmony isn't much to look at, sir. The crew sometimes jokes that we're flying in a museum piece, Lee smiled. Let them joke. The Harmony serves its purpose perfectly. Yoon saluted and left. Lee knew she would take the Harmony on its patrol. Other races would see the small, simple ship and think it represented Earth's best technology. They had no idea that the Harmony was actually one of their oldest and weakest vessels. In the real shipyards hidden on the far side of the moon, workers were building ships that could destroy planets. But the galaxy would never see those ships. Not yet. Lee opened another message. This one was from Ambassador Park Soo-jin at the Federation Council. Dae-ho, she wrote. The situation is getting worse. The Vreks are becoming bolder. Today, General, Kazathul stood up in the council meeting and called humans a race of weaklings who hide behind words. Several other races laughed. Some are starting to talk about dividing our territory after the Vreks conquer us. Lee read the message twice. Park was Earth's best diplomat. She had been pretending to be helpless for so long that even she sometimes wondered if it was real. But Lee knew the truth. Park could end any negotiation in Earth's favor within minutes if she wanted to. She just wasn't allowed to show that skill. Another knock at the door interrupted his thoughts. This time it was Lieutenant Han So-young from the communications center. Sir, we've received 3 more distress calls from human ships. The Vreks are attacking everything that flies our flag. Casualties: 12 dead, 30 wounded. The merchant ship Peace Trader was completely destroyed. Lee closed his eyes. The Peace Trader was carrying medical supplies to a colony world. The crew were all civilians, good people who thought they lived in a safe galaxy. Sir, Han continued, permission to speak freely? Granted. Why don't we fight back? I know we have better ships hidden somewhere. Everyone in the fleet knows it. We could end this war tomorrow. Lee looked at the young lieutenant. She was brave, eager, and completely right. They could end the war tomorrow. They could end it in an hour if they wanted to. Lieutenant, what? Do you know about Earth's history? Some, sir. We had many wars before we reached the stars. We learned something important from those wars. The winner isn't always the one who strikes first. Sometimes the winner is the one who strikes last, when their enemy least expects it. Han looked confused. But sir, people are dying now. Yes, they are. And each death teaches the Vreks that humans are weak. Each death makes them more confident. Each death brings us closer to the moment when they make their final mistake. Lee walked to a secure cabinet and pulled out a thick folder. It was marked Protocol 0 in simple black letters. Do you know what this is, Lieutenant? No, sir. This is our real military plan. When the time comes, when the Vreks push too far, we'll open this folder. And then the galaxy will learn what happens when humanity stops being polite. Han stared at the folder. When will that be, sir? Lee put the folder back in the cabinet. When they attack something we can't ignore. When they force our hand. When we can no longer pretend that patience is the answer. As if summoned by his words. Lee's priority communicator started flashing red. The highest level of emergency. He answered it immediately. Sir, came the voice of Admiral An Kyung-soo. We have a problem. The Vreks just attacked New Busan colony. Full planetary assault. 200,000 civilians. Lee felt his blood turn cold. New Busan was a farming world. Families, children, people who had never hurt anyone. Casualties? He asked quietly. Still counting, sir? But it's bad. Very bad. Lee looked out the window again. The children were still playing in the street below, still laughing, still safe on Earth. Admiral, Lee said slowly, I think it's time to call Ambassador Park home and send a message to the Federation Council. What message, sir? Lee thought about the folder in his cabinet, about the ships hidden on the far side of the moon, about the weapons that no alien race had ever seen. Tell them this is their final warning. The deception was almost over. The offer Park Ji-woo made was simple and terrible. Humanity would deal with the devourer swarm. But afterward, the galaxy would belong to humanity. The Council could accept this, or face the devourers alone. The aliens had no choice. They agreed. What happened next would be remembered as the day the galaxy learned to fear empty space. President Cho Min-soo stood in the command center of the massive structure called New Seoul. It was not a ship. It was not a station. It was something new. A mobile base the size of a small moon, carrying technology that made galactic science look like children's toys. Fleet status, she asked Admiral Kwon Tae-ho. All task forces are in position, he reported. 12,000 ships of the new design, 300 mobile bases. Automated systems numbering in the millions. Dr. An Haiwan, are the weapons ready? The chief scientist looked up from her instruments. All systems are operational. The Devourers will not know what hit them. Through the great windows of the command center, they could see the Devourer swarm approaching. 50,000 biomechanical ships moved like a living thing through space. They had consumed 3 star systems already. Each consumed world made them stronger. But they had never faced humans before. Begin the engagement, President Cho ordered. The human fleet did not attack in the way galactic navies fought. They did not form battle lines or fire massive weapons. Instead, they did something that made the Devourers pause in confusion. They began to sing. Every human ship, every mobile base, every automated system transmitted the same signal. It was not music. It was mathematics. Complex equations that described reality in ways the Devourers had never encountered. The Devourer ships tried to adapt. That was their strength. They could change their structure to match any threat. But the human signal was not a threat. It was a question. And the Devourers could not help but try to answer. As they tried to understand the mathematical music, their biomechanical systems began to change. Not to become stronger, but to become something else entirely. The adaptive capability that made them unstoppable became their weakness. Dr. An Haiwan watched the readings with satisfaction. Phase 1. Complete. The Devourers are attempting to solve the equation. What equation? President Cho asked. The one that describes the mathematical relationship between matter and energy in 11 dimensions. The Devourers think it is a weapon. They are trying to adapt to it. But it is not a weapon, it is a test. On the screens, the Devourer ships began to glow. Their dark hulls became bright with energy as their systems tried to process the impossible. Mathematics. Phase 2, Admiral Kwan announced. The second wave of the human attack was different. Instead of mathematics, it was biology. Human ships released clouds of something that looked like silver dust. The dust spread through space, touching each Devourer ship. The dust was not weapons. It was life. Microscopic organisms designed by human scientists to do one thing, offer the Devourers a choice. For 1,000 years, the Devourers had only known how to consume and destroy. But the human organisms carried genetic information that showed them another way. They could grow instead of consume. They could create instead of destroy. The biomechanical ships began to change again. But this time they changed in ways that their creators had never intended. Some became gardens. Others became works of art. A few became something entirely new. Phase 3, Dr. An said quietly. The third phase was the most human thing of all. It was communication. Admiral Lee Hyun himself appeared on every screen in the Devourer fleet. He was old now, but his voice was strong. "We know what you are," he said. "You are not evil. You are hungry. You consume because you do not know how to create. But we can teach you." The Devourers had never heard words like these. Every species they had encountered had fought them or fled from them. No one had ever offered to teach them. "We have prepared a gift," Lee Hyun continued. "New worlds, empty worlds, worlds you can shape without destroying others, worlds where you can learn to build instead of consume." The human fleet began to move, but instead of attacking, they opened corridors in space, pathways that led away from the inhabited galaxy, toward the void between galaxies where humans had been building their new civilization. Some Devourer ships followed the pathways. Others hesitated. A few continued toward the galactic core, still, driven by their ancient hunger. Those few found themselves surrounded by human ships that moved in ways that defied physics. The ships did not fire weapons, they simply stopped the Devourers from moving, held them in place with forces that galactic science had no names for. "The choice is yours," Lee Hyun said. "Learn to create, or remain trapped in your old patterns, but you will not consume inhabited worlds. That option is no longer available." The battle, if it could be called that, lasted 3 days. When it ended, the Devourer swarm was gone. Some had chosen to follow the human pathways to new worlds. Others had been contained in energy fields that would hold them until they were ready to learn. Not a single inhabited world had been destroyed. The galaxy watched in stunned silence as human ships began to move again. But they were not returning to the inhabited systems. They were heading outward, toward the dark spaces between galaxies. On the Galactic Council Station, the aliens gathered for what they knew would be the last meeting of the old order. The humans defeated the Devourers without destroying them, the Vorthak Elder said. His voice sounded hollow. They turned our greatest enemy into something else. What are they? The Zalarian ambassador asked. What have they become? The answer came from an unexpected source. A message from Admiral Li Hyun, broadcast to every world in the galaxy. People of the galaxy, he said. 2 years ago you offered us a seat at your table. We declined because your table was too small. Today we make you a different offer. The holographic image showed the space between galaxies. Massive structures moved through the void like islands of light in an ocean of darkness. We are building something new, Li Hyun continued. Not an empire, not a conquest. A new way of existing that does not depend on taking from others. We invite any species that wishes to learn to join us, but we will not force you. What about the galaxy? The Vorthak Elder asked, though he knew Li Hyun could not hear him. As if reading his thoughts, Li Hyun smiled. The galaxy is yours. We leave behind automated systems to protect you from external threats. But your future is your own to decide. We have moved beyond the need to control others. The transmission ended. The aliens sat in silence, trying to understand what had just happened. Humanity had not conquered the galaxy. They had not destroyed their enemies. They had simply left, evolved beyond the need to compete for resources or territory. They had become something that galactic civilization had no words for. Outside the station, human ships continued their exodus, millions of them, carrying billions of people toward a future that the galaxy could not imagine. The aliens were safe. The Devourers were contained or converted. The galaxy was at peace, but they were alone. The most powerful species they had ever encountered had looked at their civilization and found it insufficient. Years later, when alien children asked about the humans, their parents would tell them about the species that had been offered a seat at the table and had chosen instead to build their own universe. The galaxy was safe from humanity. But as the elders watched the stars and wondered what was being built in the darkness between galaxies, they could not shake one terrible question. What would happen when humanity was ready to come back? The answer, they suspected, was that by then the very concept of coming back would be meaningless. Humanity had not left the galaxy. They had simply outgrown it. And in the vast darkness between the stars, something new was being born. Something that would make the old questions about territory and power seem as small as the dreams of children. The galaxy watched, and waited, and wondered what came after evolution itself. Admiral An Kyung-soo stood in the command center that didn't exist. According to official records, he was a retired diplomat who spent his days growing flowers in his garden. The truth was very different. The command center was built inside a mountain on the far side of Earth's moon. It was massive, filled with screens and computers that tracked every ship in the galaxy. Hundreds of officers worked at stations, monitoring alien communications and fleet movements. "Admiral," called Colonel Nam Jung-ho, "the Vreks are launching their main attack, 300 ships heading for the Sol system." An nodded. "Let them come. How long until they arrive?" 6 hours, sir." "Perfect. That gives us time to prepare the welcome party." An walked to the center of the room where a huge holographic display showed the solar system. It looked empty except for Earth, a few space stations, and some patrol ships. But An knew better. He pressed a button on his control panel. The display changed. Suddenly, the solar system was full of ships. Massive vessels hiding behind asteroids. Battle stations built inside moons. Weapons platforms that looked like space junk but could destroy planets. "Sir," said Captain Oh Da-yoon, "all stealth systems are ready to disengage on your command." "Good. What about our special projects? Doctor. Li Haiwan stepped forward. She was small and quiet, the kind of person you wouldn't notice in a crowd. But she had designed weapons that could crack worlds in half. The pacifier is ready, she said. One shot will disable every Vrex ship in the system without killing the crews. And if they don't surrender? Then we use the equalizer. It will turn their ships into space dust in about 3 seconds. An smiled. The aliens had no idea what they were flying into. Meanwhile, on the bridge of the Harmony, Captain Yoon Ji-ho received new orders. Her hands shook as she read them. All crew to battle stations, she announced. This is not a drill. Lieutenant Han So-young looked confused. Captain, are we finally going to fight? Han, remember what I told you about Protocol Zero? Yes, ma'am. Well, we just opened the folder. Yoon pressed a series of buttons on her command chair. The Harmony began to change. Armor plates slid away to reveal advanced weapons. The simple engines were replaced by drives that could move faster than light itself. The old rusty ship transformed into something that looked like it came from the future. Sweet Mother of Earth, Han whispered. This is what the Harmony really is? This is what all our ships really are, Yoon said. We've been flying in disguise for 20 years. All across the solar system, human ships were dropping their disguises. Mining vessels revealed massive cannons. Transport ships opened up to show fighter squadrons. Even the small patrol boats were armed with weapons that could destroy battle cruisers. The Vrex fleet arrived exactly on schedule. General Kaz-Thul stood on the bridge of his flagship, the Devourer. He was confident and happy. In a few hours, he would plant the Vrex flag on Earth and claim the planet for his empire. Look at their defenses, he laughed to his officers. Few patrol ships and some space stations. This will be easier than I thought. His communications officer looked worried. Sir, I'm detecting some strange energy readings from the human ships. Probably their engines overheating, Kaz-Thul said. These humans can't even build proper spacecraft. That's when the human fleet decloaked. 3,000 ships appeared out of nowhere. Massive dreadnoughts that dwarfed the largest Vrex vessels. Carriers that launched clouds of fighters. Weapons platforms that bristled with guns the size of buildings. On the bridge of the Devourer, every alarm started screaming at once. Sir, the communications officer shouted, I'm reading over 3,000 human vessels. Where did they come from? Kaz-Thul stared at the screens in shock. Impossible. Our intelligence said they only had 50 ships total. Sir, incoming transmission from the human fleet. Admiral An's face appeared on the main screen. He looked calm and professional, like a teacher about to give a lesson. General Kaz-Thul, An said politely. This is Admiral An of the Terran Defense Force. You are outnumbered 10-1 and outgunned by about 1,000-1. I am authorized to offer you one chance to surrender. Kaz-Thul found his voice. You're bluffing. Those ships are fake. Holograms. An smiled sadly. I was hoping you would say that. He turned to someone off screen. Dr. Lee, please demonstrate the pacifier. A beam of blue light shot out from one of the human ships. It touched 3 Vrex destroyers and they simply stopped. Dead in space, all their systems shut down, but their crews still alive. That was our polite option, An said. The rude option is much worse. You have 30 seconds to decide. Kaz-Thul looked around his bridge. His officers were staring at him, waiting for orders. His 300 ships faced 3,000 human vessels that had technology beyond his understanding. We surrender, he said quietly. The news of the Vrex surrender spread across the galaxy in hours. But not all alien races were willing to accept the new reality. The hegemony, the Star Empire, and a dozen smaller powers formed an alliance to destroy humanity before they could grow stronger. General Seo Jin-woo stood in the main briefing room on Earth. He was tall and serious, with scars from battles that officially never happened. Around him sat the commanders of Earth's real military. The Alliance is gathering a fleet of 5,000 ships, he said. They plan to attack in 1 week. Only 5,000? Asked Captain Oh Da-un. That's almost insulting. Don't underestimate them, Seo warned. They have some powerful weapons, and they're desperate. Desperate enemies make mistakes, but they also fight harder. Commander Park Hyunwoo raised his hand. He was in charge of Earth's Cyber Warfare Division. Sir, I can shut down their communications before they even reach our space. Without coordination, their fleet will be useless. Do it, but don't make it obvious. Let them think they're having technical problems. Dr. Kim Taemin entered the room, carrying a small metal box. Generals, I have a gift for our new friends. Remember those biological weaknesses I've been studying? This device will release a gas that makes most alien species very sleepy. Not deadly, just sleepy. How sleepy? Asked SAO. They'll take a nice nap for about 12 hours. Perfect for boarding their ships and taking prisoners. SEO nodded. Excellent. We'll try to capture as many ships as possible. Maybe their leaders. We'll learn something from the experience. 1 week later, the Alliance fleet arrived at the edge of human space. It was massive. 5,000 ships from a dozen different races, all united in their desire to destroy Earth before humanity could threaten them. But something was wrong. Their communications kept failing. Ships couldn't talk to each other. Commanders couldn't coordinate attacks. What should have been an organized assault became a confused mess. That's when the human fleet appeared. This time they didn't hide. 6,000 human ships dropped out of hyperspace in perfect formation. They moved like dancers, each ship knowing exactly where to go and what to do. The Battle of Sol's Edge lasted exactly 4 hours and 17 minutes. The human ships moved through the alien fleet like sharks through a school of fish. Their weapons were so advanced that most alien ships couldn't even damage them. When the aliens tried to fight back, they found their weapons wouldn't work properly. Captain Oh Da-eun led her fighter squadron through the enemy formation. Her small ship dodged between massive alien battleships, her weapons cutting through their armor like paper. "This is Red Leader," she called over the radio. "Their shields can't stop our weapons. It's like fighting with swords against people armed with sticks." Commander Park's cyber attacks worked perfectly. Alien ships found their computers turning against them. Weapons shut down. Life support systems started playing music instead of recycling air. Navigation computers sent ships in circles. The sleeping gas was almost unfair. Entire alien crews simply laid down for a nap in the middle of battle. Human boarding parties walked onto their ships and found everyone sleeping peacefully. By the Yaiyao end of the day, the Alliance had lost 4,000 ships. The humans had lost none. The remaining alien vessels surrendered without firing another shot. President Yu Yun-ji stood before the reformed Galactic Council. She was a small woman with kind eyes, but everyone in the room knew she represented the most powerful military force in the galaxy. "Friends," she began, her voice calm and gentle, "we gather today not as conquerors and conquered, but as neighbors who have learned to understand each other." The alien representatives listened carefully. Many of them were former enemies who now realized how badly they had misjudged humanity. "Earth does not seek to rule the galaxy," Yu continued. "We never wanted war. We tried for years to avoid it. But when you forced our hand, we had no choice but to defend ourselves." General Kazathul sat in the front row. He was no longer wearing armor or weapons. Instead, he wore simple clothes and worked as a farmer on a human agricultural world. The experience had changed him. "I was wrong," he said when invited to speak. "I thought humans were weak because they chose peace. I didn't understand that they were strong enough to choose peace. There's a difference." Ambassador Park Soo-jin, now representing humanity as the galaxy's primary peacekeeping force, nodded. "General Kazathul has learned something important. True strength isn't about how much damage you can do. It's about having the wisdom to not do damage when you don't have to." The new galactic charter was simple. Any race could govern itself however it wanted, but attacking others without cause would bring the human fleet to your door. And everyone had seen what happened when the human fleet arrived. Marshal Kang Dong-hyun was put in charge of integrating former enemy territories into the new peaceful order. He was surprised to find that most aliens were relieved. They had been fighting wars for so long that they had forgotten what peace felt like. "The funny thing," he told his staff, "is that they're thanking us for conquering them. They say it's the first time in centuries that they can sleep without worrying about attacks." Dr. Kim continued his research, but now he worked openly with alien scientists. Together, they developed new medical treatments and technologies that helped everyone. "It's amazing what we can accomplish when we're not trying to kill each other," he said. Engineer Choi was put in charge of sharing some human technology with other races. Not the military technology, that remained secret, but medical devices and farming equipment that could improve alien lives. "We're not giving them weapons," he explained to his team. "We're giving them tools to build better lives." 10 years after the last battle, the galaxy was more peaceful than it had been in thousands of years. Trade flourished. Scientific research advanced rapidly. Wars became rare. Captain Yoon, now an admiral, commanded a fleet of ships that rarely had to fire their weapons. Instead, they served as explorers and peacekeepers, helping settle disputes before they became wars. "This is what we always wanted," she told her officers. "A galaxy where strength serves peace, not the other way around." Ambassador Park's final speech to the Galactic Council summed up humanity's philosophy perfectly. "We could have ruled you through fear," she said. "We could have conquered every world and enslaved every race. But that's not who we are. We choose to use our strength to protect, not to dominate. We hope that someday you'll be strong enough to make the same choice." In the end, humanity's greatest victory wasn't military. It was proving that the strongest beings in the galaxy could also be the kindest. The courtesy had returned. But now everyone understood that it was a gift, not a weakness.